Yeah, we, like I said, just recently done that, and I actually sat more than 4 hours, and not a peep.
Yeah.
When I came back and listened to the EVPs, there was nothing but me talking, um, and an occasional car going by, and like that was 5.5 hours of my life down the drain. But I had a good time doing it.
All right. Yep.
So that makes it all right.
Yeah. And that's the whole reason we started doing Facebook Live at investigations was because, my frustration over all this TV stuff just grows and grows. But it's like you turn on those ghost shows and right away, oh my God, as soon as I walked into this building, you won't believe what happened. It doesn't happen like that. Oh my God, it doesn't.
No,
You can sit in a dark room for hours on end and you're going insane because nothing is happening and you're talking to yourself.
but right, and I think a lot of that is anticipation. I
Hmm.
mean, you're saying, okay, in 5 minutes I'm going to get a response. Just wait, 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 and then 4 hours later, you still haven't got that response. And but the thing is, you don't really realize it's been 4 hours because you're waiting for that response.
Mhm.
Yeah. But
So,
I find it amazing because we do, the tours and the ghost experiences and stuff. And it's amazing how some people go on these things and it's like they're looking for it. And like right away, they will be like, oh my God, this just happened because they were wanting it to happen. And so anything simple they took and made it paranormal.
sure. Uh,
And sadly, a lot of paranormal groups are doing that too.
we our very first investigation was a mobile home that was a quarter of a mile from a major highway. And they kept telling us, well, the whole place was shaking, the walls, and like things were banging against the walls. And so um, we were setting up our DVR system, and a cord wouldn't work, the power cord to the DVR. So I sent my wife to Walmart, which was 2 miles down the road, to see if she could find a power cord. Well, meanwhile, we were inside doing what we at that point called our investigation. And my wife called me. Well, on the EVP recorder, you could clearly hear our conversation. Okay,
Hmm.
Mhm.
there was about 5 minutes after that, there was a big vibration, and we never felt it, but you could hear it on the K2. I mean, on the EVP recorder. And I listened to that, played it back and forward, and I got to listening. And do you know what a Jake brake sounds like on a big truck?
Yes, I do.
Okay, well, that's what was going on. There was a truck going by on the major highway out there, which is 231, and it was a Jake brake, and that Jake brake was vibrating the walls in this trailer. So I put everything together, and I go back to the client, and I broke it up on there. And I said, "All right, listen to this file." And they're going, "Yeah, we heard that same thing, and the walls." I said, "Now listen to it when I slow it down a little bit." I slowed it down, and you could clearly hear the Jake brake
Blop, blop,
and
blop,
the
blop,
other.
blop, blop, blop.
Yeah, yeah, you could hear the other cars around it. And I said, "What did that sound like?" And that one guy, he says, "Sounds something like the devil to me." And I'm like, "Okay." I said, "That is a Jake brake on a truck." Well, the other guy, his roommate, says, "Oh my God, it is a Jake brake." I said, "So you're this close to the highway. When they're coming along, the Jake brake just ramps decibels up it just travels through this park that you're in, bouncing off all these mobile homes, and it's shaking your house. Well, then the next thing they asked me, well, what about all the crazy drawing on the sidewalk and on the, they sent me pictures at 2 o'clock in the morning of crazy things,
Mm-hmm.
and one of them turned out to be what was that? A Blair Witch project?
Yep.
Okay, it was identical, and they had got outside. They had got drunk with the neighbor. The neighbor built the little diagram thing on the sidewalk. Well, the next morning when they come out, it was still there. And then one of the guys took pictures of it and says, "Well, that wasn't there last night." And because I talked extensively to the neighbor, and the neighbor says, "I built that. We were just playing around." And I'm like, "Okay." So, and then once I put it all together, and I told the guys, I said, "Look, your house is not haunted. The problems you're having is problems within yourself, and that you probably need to go get counseling." And because they kept saying, "Well, we played with a Ouija board and stuff like that." I said, "Well, that is a stupid thing to do, but it didn't bother you this time." And so when people start calling stuff like that paranormal, and that was as a group, that was our very first investigation.
Right.
I had been doing this a lot longer, and I told the guys at our meeting, when people call us and say this is the paranormal activity they're having in their house, then we need to have about a dozen numbers for them to contact and say, "Okay, I need counseling on this. I need counseling on that." And and of course we did recommend that to the guys, and they did get counseling, and things are all better now. But that goes back to the whole thing. Don't call things paranormal until you absolutely know that's what's going on.
Right. Yeah, we're really strict with our team that, we don't leave a house saying, yes, you have a ghost. No, we leave saying, we need to go over all the evidence before we can, let you know what's going on. Even if we had personal experiences while we're there, we're not going to tell them, oh, yeah, we got scratched, we're not going to do that because we're not going to freak out the client, and we're not going to leave them freaked out, while we're over here going through our evidence to only learn that, oops, I backed up into a nail. That's what scratched me,
Yep.
Right. Yeah, that whole scratching thing really gets me. Yeah. No, it takes a lot to convince me that something demonic scratched somebody.
Now, I don't believe it's demonic. Both
No.
Will and I have had marks and scratches, but I don't think it's demonic.
No.
I think it's just them getting your attention, or trying to get your attention.
One of our recent investigation, the last 6 months, we went to a house where the folks' cabinets and stuff were opening. They never closed. They always open. Well, we went in and we did our initial interview, and I'm sitting there talking to the gentleman, and then I look, and one of the cabinets came open, and he's like, "See, you've seen that, right? We're not crazy." I'm like, "No, you're not crazy." And then, of course, I got up. And everything in that, this was a nice brick house. Wasn't any roads by it or anything like that. Well, I honestly think at that point it was the cat or the dog that opened the cabinet, but I didn't get it on camera. So I told him whenever we got through with our investigation, I said, "Look," I said, "all my research, I do know that the veil is thin. and that is an area where spirits cross into our world. It takes energy for them to do that.
Right.
Anything that they come in contact with or even go by it, it's kind of like carrying a gust of wind with them. That energy that they used, whether it be a loved one or whatever the case may be, that energy they used to cross over to this plane, if you will, has to affect something on this plane. So someone seeing a door open or a curtain move or something like that very well could be that situation. Not saying that it is, but it very well could be that loved one trying to cross over to give them a message or whatever the case may be, and causes those doors to open.
Yeah. We had a case where the woman had these little latches, or not latches, handles on her dresser by her front door. And what she would do is she'd flip them up. And they would stay on their own. But then she would come back later, and some of them would be in the downward position. And I was like, that's kind of cool, but there's a lot of things that'll make those fall down. But what was making them fall down is she had an airplane that would fly, or airplanes would fly over her house, vibrate the house. Not enough to where you feel it, but enough to make the walls move. And every time a plane would fly over, they would fall back down. But she was using that as like, my house is haunted. I do this, and then I come back and they're down. So while we were doing the investigation, I actually flipped them up. A plane flew overhead, and a couple of them fell back down. It's like, this is what's going on. That's not paranormal.
It's not? A plane's not paranormal?
Well, unless you watched that show Manifest, then you know.
It was a ghost plane.
It was gone for 5 years, and now it's back.
Hey, that show's interesting. I like that show.
Is that the one where the plane landed and all the crew and everybody was under a skeleton now or something?
No, it was. It's about they took off to come back from where they were at, and then they went to go land, and they were diverted to another airport, and then they found out it had been 5 years since they took off. So
yeah.
5 years of their life. Well, they didn't lose 5 years of their life, but they lost 5 years of time.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, they returned, and everyone around them had, aged 5 years, but they didn't.
I bet tacos changed a lot when they come through, didn't they?
Yeah, it's an interesting show, and interesting because they haven't told you where this plane went for 5 years because the passengers had no clue.
So they were basically just flying around for 5 years.
They had no clue.
To them.
Or they were.
To them, it was like a normal flight.
Yeah, just a normal 20-minute or whatever flight.
Okay, so there was no time variance within them. They
Right.
were just, their time was in the plane. So
right.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's an interesting show. I mean, it's not based on actual facts or anything, of course, but it kind of ties into, the paranormal field because you're left going,
where were they for 5 years?
Yeah, how did that happen? Did they cross into another realm? What happened?
Wormhole.
Oh, yeah. So I find that show interesting, and I'm curious to where they're going to go with it. Because then what they have is the passengers are all like connected and have like certain powers now that they didn't have before. So it's like really interesting.
What's the name of the show?
Manifest.
Manifest. Is that like a Netflix show or something?
No, it's on NBC.
It comes on. It's on Monday nights.
Yeah.
But yeah, everybody on the plane has empathetic abilities to where
some are connected to other passengers, some get like warnings of, like one